Appreciate your patience, man. We are good to go. Are you recording at your end?
Yes, sir.
All right. Elbows not looking too ashy. I've had a couple of videos I've had to re-record because I was crawling around setting things up, and I go on and look at the raw footage, and I look like ashy. What was dude from Chappelle's show name? Ashy Larry.
Ashley Larry. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're good though. All right.
All right.
So first off, it's really dope talking to you face to face. I guess introduce yourself. I know a lot of people that will see this will know you just because of your presence on social media, but on the off chance that people kind of don't recognize you and don't know what you're about and what you do, give you the spiel you have.
Yeah. My name is Glenn Henry, and I go by Belief. Belief is spelled Beleaf because the word belief regularly has the word lie right in the middle of it. So I was an MC for a while, traveling around doing hip hop, mostly faith based hip hop, and that has got me to the point where I've gained a little bit of a following, and then I got to the point where I realized that no stage will ever be bigger than the stage I stand on in my living room. No fan will ever be more important than my two children at the time. And so I decided to stop traveling as much and stay home and document the journey of a stay-at-home father. And I've been telling stories, right? Equipping fathers to love and lead their families into eternity is, kind of the mission statement. But Belief in Fatherhood is a YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, where we do massive work in the Black community to help dispel this kind of pursuit of individualism. We believe family is foundation, and we pursue that as our right.
Dope. Yeah, and it's ill kind of what's speaking to you directly because I've seen your face hundreds of thousands of times probably in the last, I feel like 6-7 years. How long have you been doing this? How long have you like?
Oh man, it's been about 8 years, a little bit over 8 years now.
Yeah, and I'm a what's the word I want to use? A philosopher about how algorithms work. And my working theory right now is we often kind of blame the programs and the systems for feeding us certain things.
Yes.
But the research is kind of telling us it's a little bit of the opposite in that we end up training these systems to feed us what we get. And then we trade them to feed us more. And so I feel like it says something about me that I probably caught you very early, that you were fed to me, got to be year 2, year 3 at most.
Oh, yeah. So you know a lot then.
Yeah. I've seen the early days. I feel like y'all had to be in an apartment or at least a smaller crib in the earlier days. And so it was wild. And I had I got a 10-year-old now. So I guess I must have been, I had a 2 or 3-year-old. So I had kids within the range of some of the little ones you had. And it was kind of stunning to see a brother that looked like me doing the fatherhood thing. And it's like no shade to other brothers' fatherhood walks, because it's all love. And me and you have a lot of differences in terms of like our experiences and worldviews. But I have respect for any Black man seeking to like pour into their children, regardless of how those children came to them, right? But but there is this image of Black fatherhood that's very, very buttoned up, very clean cuts, Idris Elba, you know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe like, the Winslows, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw a dude that I know I would have like seen in a cypher in undergrad doing fatherhood content, I was like, oh snap! You know that meme with
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. It was like, oh snap! I know this. I know who you were, but I knew that vibe and that energy in the household, and it was just it was just dope. It was just dope to see. And this isn't like, I want this to be like an interview, but I do have like so many questions.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I want it to be a conversation. I don't want you to feel like you gotta, give your whole elevator speech. But like, I am curious, like, what was that like? Because you were a pioneer in that regard. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody knew this was a thing. And then suddenly you were here making it a thing. Like, so
Yeah.
what was that like those early days like? And what was, I guess, the impetus to even like think, oh, this could be like a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Man. Well, first of all, man, thank you for having me on, and I appreciate you. Just even your humility to lend your platform to me and allow me to speak. And also, I want a big shout out to Julesy for connecting us in the
Shout out to
beginning,
Juicy.
right?
Yeah.
Queen Julesy, she's such a sweetheart and such an
Yeah.
amazing person.
Also,
And
OG. People don't respect the fact that Juicy been here for a minute and she ain't gotta speak on it. She's like, look, I know.
yeah, she the one. She the one for sure. So big shout out to Julesy. Yeah, man. In the beginning, I think that I had a lot of problems. Like, I was angry that fatherhood, like, it wasn't like I feel like I was lied to, and so I don't feel like people told me what it was like to be a dad. They just was like, "It's gonna change you," and they would say these like kind of haunting phrases like "You'll never sleep again," or like, like just weird, like, and I didn't understand how they couldn't give me the play by play. When I'm like, well, what do you mean? It was like ghosts. Like a duppy comes along and tells you like a sad thing, and you're
Right.
like, well, what happens next? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And they kind of drift
Yoda
off.
cryptic language, like
Exactly.
pissed off you will be all the time. Death will alarm.
Exactly. Right. And so, like, I didn't realize how much of my senses would be used. Like, I'm seeing things. I'm like, is that what I think it is? I'm smelling things all the time. I'm smelling my fingers. It's poop. It's everywhere. It consumes all of your existence, especially as a stay-at-home dad. And I just was like, oh, they played me. They lied to me, and they didn't tell me what it was. And so as I'm sharing things, just little moments here and there on Instagram, people are like, yo, I never knew that, or that's exactly how it is, and they don't tell you that. So I was like, oh, how dare us all walk into this thing with confusion? Like, how dare us do that? I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on my watch.
No problem.
And so, like, how dare I be interrupted, like my peace be interrupted in such a crazy way? I really wanted to dispel like what I thought fatherhood would be, because I didn't know how much I was going to learn, right? Not how much I was going to teach my kids, but how much I was going to learn. And so I knew early on that once I became a stay-at-home dad, I didn't know, like, I thought it was going to be easy, but it turned out to be this hard thing that challenged my patience, and it was emotional tiredom, and I've never experienced exhaustion in my soul. And even when that was over and the next day started, it just revamped itself with a different challenge, like a Goku type thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh,
Like a
my
monster
gosh.
of the week.
Exactly. So, and monster of the day for sure. But I was like, okay, I don't want people to walk through this alone. And so I wanted to tell my story. And, my wife had challenged me with this question, and this famous question is, hey, babe, what's your 5-year plan? And I didn't have a plan. I was rapping and I was touring, and I would make money off of touring. And, she was like, okay, well, I trust you with my family and my future. And you have 5 years planned out, and went to sleep and rolled over. And I was just stuck sitting there contemplating my future and am I man enough and who am I? And then it got down to the point where I ended up asking one of my buddies, like, hey, like, I don't know my 5-year plan. My wife asked me, what's my 5-year plan? He's like, well, what's your 5-year plan? I said, I don't know. He said, what's your 10-year plan? I said, I don't know. He said, what's your 15-year plan? I said, I know I don't want to be rapping no more. He said, what do you want to be doing? I said, I don't want to be telling people how great it is to be a father. And so once I realized that, I was like, okay, I just want to tell people how great it can be. I love to see the hero struggle, and I am a struggling father. I will always struggle with the burden of life, to work, to gain money, to pursue the things that I feel like God has created me to do, and to raise these children as best I can and love my wife effectively. Like, all those things matter to me, and all that stuff is a balance. And so I am often like confronted with that truth, and I'm walking in that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I just share that. That's all.
Yeah. That's deep and dope. And it's funny because, like, in my mind, I don't know how it worked, but I also am walking through a similar experience where, like, I started throwing stuff up on YouTube, and then suddenly I was a YouTuber. I'm like, oh, like people are really resonating with what I'm doing. And it
Yes.
ain't even like it, and it ain't got, something that's universally valued as fatherhood attached to it. So like, as I say that, I also kind of have to like realize that like we often downplay the capacity we have for like success. You know what I'm saying? And for like how that's one of the things that's driven me in my content
Okay.
is like realizing that like I'm not unique in the way I experience and see the world. And I think that's been super important to me as a Black man, specifically because, not we're not gonna get too deep into it, but I have a certain view of how a certain opinion on how so many Black men are depicted and presented, not just in media, but specifically in what carries on social media, like what
Okay.
goes viral, what gets popping, what takes off in the algorithms. And so if you're not, for lack of a better putting it, woke, right? If you're not aware of how this stuff works, you might think that all Black men are engaging with the world in this specific way.
Yeah.
And that if you don't fall in line with that worldview, then something must be wrong with you.
Yeah.
And some of the first responses I would get from my content is, bro, I've been waiting to hear somebody say this. I've been waiting to hear somebody do this. I've been waiting to hear somebody talk about this like that. And like, to me, the biggest thing when I first saw you was you engaging with your kids emotionally, which is regardless of like race, not something that gets enough activity in how we think about fatherhood, at least in this country, like where we are now. Like I can't speak outside of America, but like I know that much like you, I got, oh, you're not gonna sleep. I got make sure your kids do this and that. My dad who low-key didn't raise me, make sure they, make their bed so they can learn discipline. I'm like, all right. You know what I'm saying?
Weird,
and it's,
yeah.
And it's, the best I got was support your wife because she's the real one, like doing a lot of the work. But like nobody was like, hey, hit up a therapist soon so you could develop your own emotional, and mature emotionally as you try to, raise an emotionally immature, child.
Yes.
So that you don't, respond negatively. And so I remember like some of your replays. What did you call them again? I forgot. Play-by-play.
Breakdowns.
Breakdowns.
Fatherhood breakdowns. Welcome Black to another Fatherhood breakdown. Family night edition, playing Hungry Hippos. Big brother's trying to help out little brother. Little brother doesn't want the help, and this is a warning. He slaps himself saying, if I will do this to myself, imagine what I will do to you. Fast hand, swing and a miss. Dad says, don't hit him. Uzi says, as you wish. Pulls out the blammy. This is not going to end well. He knows there are no rounds in the chamber, so he pistol whips his brother. You ever kill the vibe so bad that you actually fall out and you want to get away, but you're stuck in this 2-year-old's body? Yeah, he feeling it. Baby is confused. He says, you told me not to put hands on me. I ain't put hands on him. Now you got a problem with how I dealt with it. See, you should have just mind your business. Say sorry to Theo.
Sorry.
Give hugs. Give your brother a hug now. Thank you. Don't you hate it when your parents force you to hug it out? Look at their faces. Ain't nobody sorry.
Yeah, I remember some of them where the whole breakdown was you like breaking down what your child is presenting you from an emotional standpoint. And it being like not a big deal. It was like some normal stuff you do. And I was just like, yes, my kid does this random, ridiculous thing too. And I want to scream. But then I realized that, and so it's powerful to me beyond just, being happy about your success and like stuff like that, that there was such a large audience that didn't realize that they were looking for just that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of the major things, you think about like, dang, sometimes you just feel alone. Like you just want to make sure you're not crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, am I tripping? Man, if I'm tripping, I got to let somebody know I'm tripping at least. And that's kind of what bugs me. And I was just saying this to my wife on our podcast. Like, it really bugs me about, the Black community is we don't share enough about what is happening. Like, if you had to be the person to say it aloud and then everyone would be like, exactly, right? Like, I want more people to say it. And so I'm glad that I'm not the only dad out here no more making the content. Like, that makes me feel great because now I got other stuff I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could pave the way for the dad vlog and the Kiers and you know what I'm saying? Like, all these other men who are out here making content or being just dads in general. Like, it's easier because we did what we did. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think one of the biggest things that was whack when people would tell you about fatherhood is like, yo, now you got to give up on your dreams now. Like, whatever you want to do is over. And now it's about the kid, which makes total sense. But then we're teaching our kids not to pursue their dreams.
Right.
We're teaching them not to go after the things they want to do once they
People
have kids.
wonder
Right?
why they ain't got grandkids and they got
Exactly.
30-year-old children.
Yes,
Because you taught
exactly.
them as soon as they have a kid, it's over.
Yes, exactly. But I'm all for it, man. I want to hear more of your philosophies. I want to know more because I mean, you know, I appreciate what you do. You know what I'm saying? I think you have a very interesting take on a lot of different things, and even though we don't align on a lot of things, I'm open to whatever you have to say for sure.
Yeah, like to me, it's you know, I made my way into this by accident. You know what I'm saying? I was well within my career. I had a pretty like well crafted career path. I was finishing up my PhD. I was in the university system of Georgia, doing research. I was making all the connections. You know, I was applying for jobs in at the beginning of COVID. And, you know, my wife was a corporate baddie, right? And so that was interesting. That was an interesting combination because I was saving the world for most of my early career, you know, teaching and working in social services, which means you don't make no damn money. So, you know, and so what I'm getting at is that I had this confluence of experiences that it gave me a perspective that was somewhat unique. You know, I'm the child of quasi-revolutionary folks in Chicago. A lot of people that come to like, you know, pro-Black, you know, ethos and ideology, they come to it like an undergrad. I had that as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which means I was able to critique it by the time I was an undergrad. I had seen the real version of it in practice and was like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For sure.
And so then like I never forget one of my homegirls was talking about Hamilton, the play. And she said something, I was like, and I went,
what do you mean?
And I was like, and you know, you're on Facebook. I don't know how you was on Facebook back in the day, but me, you know what I'm saying? And so like I deleted all of that. And I have been selling myself, I'm gonna make a YouTube video channel forever. And I made a YouTube video. And I was like, yo, this is kind of good. I enjoyed this. And this is better than like, this is good enough to do the thing. And then suddenly, like a year later, I had an audience. And going back to like that thing about having more people say the thing, right? What I realized, because for lack of a way of putting it, I got recruited, I got scouted early on. And I got put in a lot of rooms with, you know, like much like I got connected with Juicy, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's like people don't understand. Juicy is not just like, ooh, you know, social commentary here. I just had a baby. Like Juicy's a big deal. And like in these various rooms, I started learning more about how all of this works. And the thing that frustrated me the most was how hard it was for me to get on and how alone I felt. Cause like, you know, you and like a lot of folks you with, like y'all kind of operate independent of these machines, these algorithms. Like y'all rely on them. But you know what I'm saying? Like you all
say more, bro. What you mean?
Like Instagram runs on a different type of algorithm than YouTube. You know what I'm saying? TikTok the same, et cetera. And so you don't have to like my next video come out in 2 weeks, right? If it's a dud because of the way my content set up, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? My wife got to start looking for jobs again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Whereas y'all like y'all networks, y'all, you don't rely on, the YouTube AdSense check to be like what pays your bills. And so I feel like that gave y'all a little more autonomy to like experiment and collaborate. And suddenly you all, like, I know you connected with Juicy and other folks, and like suddenly you have like a crew. And I'm like, man, I want that. Nah.
Mm-mm.
Correct.
No, I'm just as lonely as you are. Straight up and down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just as lonely as you are in the fatherhood space. I wouldn't say that I am like too many others. You know what I'm saying? I don't do a lot of skits. I am very aware of the temperature of my home. I will take an L for the family. I don't make a lot of money on AdSense. I'm in the thick of it, figuring it out. Like, I don't think there's not a crew. I mean, there's definitely like.
So, there's a fatherhood space, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like,
I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
People compare me to Umar. No shade to Umar. I don't want to put that on you, devil on you, because I don't know when he's going to figure me out and wreak havoc on me. But like, that's my contemporary, and we're so different that doesn't even make sense. Whereas
But he existed before you, though.
He existed before me. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So the
fathers before me is Bill Cosby. You dig?
Yeah.
You understand? There is nobody for me to look forward to, and I'm leading the pack.
Right.
Like, so all the other fatherhood dudes are looking at me like, what's the next step? Are we trying to go on TV? Are we trying to do this? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hold on, let me figure this out real quick. So they all kind of came after me. Really, it was just me and LaGuardia in the beginning. Right? They really all kind of came after me. I don't have a set. Now I'm a palatable black man. You understand? Yeah. So I'm accepted in more corporate spaces where you might be like, ew, right? I'm not going there, right? Right? Because I'm like, oh, I understand why I'm here. I know that I'm probably the only straight black male in the room. You know what I'm saying? So I can go there and I can still be a light and figure out what I can gain from the situation. Even just to go back to the homies and be like, don't go over there. They doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would say that I'm probably invited. It may look like I'm more in the loop and down because I do a lot of stuff with the companies, the corporate side, but I don't got a squad. Like, I have employees now and I have a team now, but that took a long time. And so even my wife had to, like, it took a while for her to get on board with what I was doing. And sometimes she's still kind of like, I don't like what people are saying about me. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to constantly cast vision and put coal inside the freaking engine so that people can understand, hey, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. But that's lonely, bro.
Yeah,
I'm lonely.
It sounds like a lot of pressure too.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that drove me as well. So I guess in a weird way, we're similar, but the nature of the content is maybe even a little bit more predictable on my end. Cause my stuff right now is like pure, like, 'cause I got a Discord chat with, like, I don't know how close you follow, like, some of the content spaces I've been involved in, like Jules's in this particular chat. And it's like, aside from me and Julesy and maybe like one other person, ain't nobody in there over 25. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a different energy with the youth in terms of like them creating content, but because it's lower stakes for them, I don't feel that type of pressure you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like I'm leading like a wave. You're almost like leading an industry, which like I get that. You know what I'm saying? And I also get why, like, it is you know, the family dynamic can be pressurized from that. Like my wife's been in like cameo in one or two videos. And then we did like the first podcast for this channel was me and her. And then she was like, all right, that's it.
I quit. I'm retired.
Right. And it's funny because my wife is a performer by trade back in her earlier days. But for that very reason, like I really resonate with that. Like, why are they saying this about me? Energy, because you know the way people talk to you when they see your face on these screens and they don't know you in real life will really throw you. Both good and bad. Like we mentioned that we know someone that's polyamorous, and they're like, make a video about polyamory. I'm like, we don't know nothing about this, y'all. Like we said this out loud. We love y'all. Do y'all thing. Mm-hmm. That's not our thing. You know what I'm saying? How has you know, because as you raise, and you have mostly boys, right? If I'm not mistaken,
yeah, three boys, one girl.
Yeah, like how, not so much the content part of it, because I know that's like that don't translate to nobody, right? Like it's always hard for me to explain to people doing YouTube videos as a job. Because people are like, oh, you just upload? And like, nah, it's whatever. But like the actual raising modern boys conversation, you know what I'm saying? Ooh. How is that going?
Raising modern boys.
And they're like hitting middle school now, right? At least the two oldest.
Yeah, the two oldest are definitely fresh into puberty. You can smell it. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere, right? And so they're about to hit middle school. I wouldn't say our boys are very modern. They're very like traditional, like you're supposed to take the girl out and spend all the money and pull out the, you know what I'm saying? Like they're very traditional dudes, but they're very sheltered. So we homeschool our kids. They do not have like access to YouTube.
Ooh.
Like they don't, you know what I'm saying? Like they are very sheltered kids.
That's beautiful.
And so our boys are like, they're still like trying to go outside and play and like, you know, basketball, boxing. My oldest son plays hockey. You know what I'm saying? I would say we're raising black kids in a white space, which is super hard. That's where the challenge comes in. But raising modern boys, I have to kind of reconfigure a lot of their thought process. So, you know, we send our kids to a Christian school, and a lot of the stuff that they get is a lot of like sometimes it's right wing, and it bothers me. So they'll be like, you know, they'll say something and they'll be like, well, why would I want someone who doesn't believe the God that and I'm like, whoa. Like, we don't judge people for what they believe. Like, I have to reframe a lot of that because I'm kind of like, okay, what makes you feel like we can talk about people like that? Or what, you know, they hear somebody in their class say, oh, this person's gay. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that mean? You know? And so I'm having to do a lot of deconstruction. But the reason why I have to do deconstruction is because sometimes in certain areas, I've given away my right to be the first person preaching on a subject. I've given away my right to introduce the topic, so then someone else introduces it, and then I got to reframe the thought. So now I'm thinking ahead and being like, okay, so sex, right? This is what sex is, and this right here is trans, and this is how we feel about this, and this is how we, you know, and I'm trying to help them walk through stuff before they even get to it, you know? So nothing is a surprise. So I'm really excited. I feel this is a badge of honor to kind of just talk and ask a lot of questions. Well, why do you think that? And why do you think God made it like that? Or why do you feel like this person isn't your friend because of they did this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to raise thinkers. I'm not interested in raising children from a generation. I want to raise children with the ability to love, learn, and lead very well.
That's ill and dope. And it's kind of like, you know, I don't know if I'd have ever done homeschool because I was a teacher by trade. And so like, I think I saw the classroom as capable of great things. But I also saw the classroom as capable of like some real bullshit. And I couldn't imagine having an all white space for my black boys, right? Like right now, my boys go to a school that's probably about 60-40 black, and it's well mixed economically as well. And there's still challenges, right? There's still a lot of that. And my oldest will be in middle school next year. So like they're doing the sex ed class. And so we're having conversations that, you know, I feel well equipped for, because it was, you know, it was my job to an extent for my previous career. But I also sometimes wish they didn't have YouTube. They didn't have YouTube before COVID. Before COVID, boy, we were good, progressive, crunchy granola parents that they didn't have screens, and we made baby food and stuff like that when they were little. And COVID hit, and it was like, look, y'all go in the playroom.
Yeah.
I turned the TV. And like, and COVID was tough on them, especially my youngest, who, you know, was only, I think, 2 or 3 when COVID started. He was, no, he was 4. He was going on 4 when COVID started. And so like a lot of that dropped. And so like, I think about the fact that I wonder, it's interesting because you're better at it than I am. In that, like, I'm like, my kids don't have social media. They can only watch YouTube. They don't know any TikTok, nothing. And I've noticed every person I know with kids that does this is just as strict or even more strict than us when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they know the game.
Yeah. And I would say that, you know, I wouldn't say anybody is better, right? That's just me. I wouldn't say that, because I know you handling your life well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think if we compare ourselves to our parents, we'd be like, oh, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. You know what I'm saying? But like, the standard is your home. You know what I'm saying? Like, the standard isn't me. It's not you. It's your home. So I believe that you're doing the best with the information that you have. I would say also that our children don't, like, they know how to get on YouTube. They're just not allowed to do it. You know what I'm saying? And when they do get on YouTube, the only thing they can watch is our videos. Like, we have enough content from their past that they love to watch their own videos. They love to see some of the pranks we've done. We've done like maybe 6 pranks over, 700 videos, but they love to see those videos. They love to see their birthdays. They love to reminisce. Like, they like to look at their life, and it makes them feel good, the memories. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even say that we're strict. It's just that you can't unsee certain things. Like, once you're exposed to something, it's gone, dog. Like, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? And then you almost
and the stuff
have a
that
thirst
sneaks
for
on
it.
YouTube, bro. Listen, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, I hear about it. I don't even really know, but I hear about it, and I'm like, I can't even find the time to really, scroll. I think the last time I got into a super crazy scrolling thing was when I first joined TikTok, and I was just like, I cannot stop using this thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's an amazing force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
But I had to do it because I had to study the platform, and then once I got it, I was like, all right, cool, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I think that we have to look at our kids as kind of like, all right, a thing isn't good or bad. You know what I'm saying? A thing can be good depending on how you use it, right? A brick can build a house. It also can fly through a window. A fire can burn down a house. It also can keep you warm. So, like, let's figure out, why is this thing good or bad? And let's see, okay, how is it intended to be used by the original creator? And so that's why that's the type of conversation we have. But, man, it gets real dicey out there, man, when you let your kids explore without a guide, right? And you're the guide. You know what I'm saying? You're the father. You're the guide.
And now the guide is these recommendation systems. Like, one of the video I'm working on now is about the manosphere. And it's kind of a meta-analysis. I think a lot of people, it's easy to argue with, misogyny bad. Like, that's not a real, well, it can be complex, but like, I'm past arguing about that in particular. What struck me a little while ago was, why are certain people able to grow so quick just by, disrespecting women, specifically Black women, right? And that led me down a rabbit hole of looking again at these recommendation systems and seeing in real time, like, my son likes, Mr. Beast videos, right? And so Mr. Beast videos, if you start a new YouTube account, you're going to see a Mr. Beast video in the first 5 seconds of starting that account. And then Mr. Beast has different types of content connected to him. And so if you search uh, enough. And like, well, I just speak to it. My son had an account, had a tablet that didn't have his account attached to it. So he was just searching random YouTube, and within like a week, he got Karens getting what they deserve 10-hour compilation. And I was like, yo, how did you get here? And I looked through the history, and it's not like he didn't click on like anything that you would think would lead you there. It just popped up because the when you say like you can't unsee things, there's also like you can't disentangle like the intention of a lot of these programs for what makes them money. You know what I'm saying? And like that's for me, like even the seeing things like is there's I don't want you to see certain stuff, and then there's I don't want to have to fight certain ideas within you. You know what I'm saying? I don't want this to be an ideological battle because I slipped. Because like you said, because I didn't introduce certain things first. Or maybe even I did introduce certain things, but boy, this is a really slick video. This video is really convincing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's the case for as many people as it seems. I theorize that if you really get caught up in certain ideologies online, I don't know if it was the video that did it or if it was the video that awakened you to where you were going. But it is a scary reality when you're raising kids and you're trying to have balance, have them have autonomy, but also know what's out there, especially from the standpoint that we have, to know how quickly certain things enter the space. You know, so I envy the way you've been able to, you know, manufacture an environment where that's less likely. And I wonder if that's something that we should be like. That's the next belief thing is like, all right, how to remove all this nonsense from your kid's atmosphere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man, that's really good, man. Going to war with certain ideologies. And I like, you know, let's test your theory. You know what I mean? Like, let's test your theory. If you think this is true, let's test it. Let's see in other examples, is this how it really is, you know? If we watch, like, a Karen getting what they deserve is really just a revenge story, right? And I don't know if I like watching Karen videos, but I do love a good revenge story. You know what I'm saying? It just feels good.
Quick
you know
in the
what I'm
day.
saying? Yeah, right? It's like, okay, so, you know, why does this excite you? I love to ask questions, you know what I mean? And if they
That's a
can't get
good
to the
one, too.
answer, Joe, just ask mad questions. Oh, why does this excite you? You know what I'm saying? Or like when we talk to the kids about sex and we tell them, hey, like it's okay for your body to get aroused. That's what happens. Like that is normal behavior for your body. Like that is fine. You know what I'm saying? We kind of demystify the secretness of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You empower the child. A lot of one of my homies, Andrew, is pure out anarchist, young brother, genius, doesn't have kids yet, but like really challenged me. It's the first time I ever felt challenged by a person that didn't have kids about my parenting. But you know, like, can't nobody without kids tell me nothing. But like he said something, I was like, actually, that may be a good point. And
I'm gonna be honest. I can't stand people without kids talk to me, man. I'm just like, shut up.
That's how I usually am. But he just said basically what you were just talking about, which is like, I think we have we cleave, especially Black folks, in like our history and like what happens to our children when we're not domineering. We normalize a very domineering parenting style. And what attracted me to your content was that your content, like you were clearly an authority, right? But you weren't authoritarian, you know? And I imagine that the fact that you always affirmed your kids' emotions as children means that they're able to manage them better as they're getting older, even if it doesn't feel like that as you're entering into middle school, I'm sure. And so what you're just talking about, just asking that question, I'm not even going to tell you how I feel. I'm not going to tell you why it's wrong, but you tell me why you like it.
Yeah.
And then we've now awakened a whole level of consciousness as opposed to depositing our consciousness into a child, right? Which is not I don't think that's, at a minimum, I think that's not the most efficient way to raise a future adult. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we can't really control what they do, to be honest. Like, you watch parents that like lose control over amount of time and they just sit there and they just start begging and like manipulating and trying to, like, you watch those type of parents, you kind of like, oh, you never had control in the first place. Like, I always could do whatever I want to do. I just was scared, and now I'm not scared no more. You know what I mean? And now I don't have to be around you, so I won't. I'm not going to put up with that, you know?
Right.
And so you watch people go through that process, and then you recognize, like, I present the boys with the easy challenge. Oh, I didn't know that's who you were becoming. I didn't know you were lying often like that. That's interesting. That's gonna be tough. Just like, that's gonna be tough, man. If that's how you want to go about life, you know, and like, well, why would it be tough? Well, because then people aren't gonna trust you, and they're not gonna want to play with you. It's gonna be hard to keep friends if they can't trust you. You know.
Right.
Now, maybe you might be able to trick people for a while, but everything always comes out. You know what I'm saying? And that's like the conversation, and it really is not. We do not have control. Like, I used to think I had so much control as a parent, and I could spank and I could, you know, check them and all that stuff. And it's kind of like, man, they're gonna do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? And like, there's certain things that I can't allow in the house that you know, kind of interrupts the cohesiveness of the home. But if my child doesn't want to be in a video, then I'm not going to force the man to be in a video. It's just kind of like, bro, all right, cool. Well, then go help with the camera or something. You're going to be a part because this is a family thing. You don't have to be in
It's
it.
a business.
It's a business. Go ahead and grab a sandbag, put it on the tripod. You know what I'm saying? Like, no biggie, you know? But we just cannot force it, man. So we have to give our kids the ability to make sound decisions. And like, when you watch a kid grow up and you see him from this 3-year-old who's, you know, learning how to speak and learn how to, you know, cry and get his way and all that stuff. And then you watch them like play a sport and make really fast decisions on the drop of a hat. You know what I'm saying? You kind of like, oh, you know, because my son plays hockey, like street hockey, like inline hockey, right? And it's crazy because I didn't know he was as good as he was. You know what I'm saying? And so when he sees a challenger coming up to him and he like fakes left and takes it between his legs and then, you know, shoots to the side of the freaking goal, I'm like, oh man, that was really good decision making. And he could be on time for every practice. But whenever I ask him, hey man, I need you to get your clothes ready. We gotta go. Where we going? Man, just get. I'll tell you in a second. I need you to be efficient right now. You know what I'm saying? Lollygagging. I can't find this. I can't find that. I'm like, bro, if we was going to hockey right now, you'd be in the car already. You know what I'm saying? And so that is a truth that I recognize. I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm looking at a graph, I'm like, when it comes to hockey, man, you're like 99%. Right. When it comes to school, you're like 30. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes he has a player on his team that isn't that good. I'm like, man, you know, you play hockey. I mean, you do schoolwork like such and such plays hockey. And he pissed off. You know what I'm saying? He takes it personal. He like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, bro, if we were on a team, I wouldn't pass the ball to you because you wouldn't make it. You know what I'm saying?
With the schoolwork.
Yeah, with the schoolwork. I wouldn't be able to trust you with the assignment. Yeah. And you know, the bigger the numbers are, the more scary you get. You know, like I'm having conversations with not children.
That's a young man now. Yeah.
That's a man. He's going to become a man. I'm not raising children. I'm raising grown-up people, right? Yeah. So if we're raising grown-up people, we got to start treating them like that. Yeah. You know?
You got to, yeah. It's something. One thing you just said that really resonated, that hits me because of my former experience in social work. I spent 3-4 years in juvenile court, and like when you think, you know, to the layman, I don't know what your background is with the system. The layman might think, oh, juvenile court, you got kids in crime and breaking into cars and da-da-da. Man, 99% of juvenile court is parents that have lost control of their children's behavior and are bringing them to the court with the hopes that the court will assert now authority over the child that they have essentially given up on.
Wow.
And half of our activity would basically be trying to convince the parent that they don't want to do that and to give them tools, which we never have, That's a whole other conversation about why my politics developed the way they are. But to
Mm.
give them tools to find a way to reaffirm like parental control in their own home if they have one. And it's so true what you just said. Like they start manipulating and blaming and like fighting their child. And then their child realizes, oh, you don't have no power.
Power, no
You
power.
have nothing. So now I'm
Yeah.
definitely not listening. Because now you bring me
Yes.
to the court, and all the court can do is throw me in jail. Well, guess what? If I ain't 14, I can't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? They're going to put me in a group home. I'll break out of that. Like the way, and that's, and I guess I open up to any questions that you have, like having to see that radicalize because we would have parents. I'd never forget. I think I just talked about this in some other piece of content. Um, I had these two little boys who were, one was like 12 and one was like 7. The 12-year-old, I had some work with. I was like, all right, cool, I can do this. I went over to his crib and gave him Call of Duty. Stay your ass in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes it's that simple. Like, when you talk about like, crime and delinquency, it ain't usually that complex. Sometimes it is. You got real, messed up situations in the home. But most of the time is, in this particular case, woman got, she had like the 8, 9 kids. She ain't had no resources. She ain't had no money. So her oldest son started being like, all right, well, I'm going to get money for the family. Like, all right, look, play this
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty instead. Cool. I got to this 7-year-old that he got arrested with, and this 7-year-old talked to me like a grown ass man. I am haunted still. I'm getting chills now as I have
Wow.
like auditory and tactile reflections on this. I think I was just telling this to the person I talked to last time. Actually, now I think about it. But like this little boy talked to me like a grown ass man. It was like he basically said, "Yo, I'm 7. You can't put me in jail. What else you gonna do?" And I was like, nothing, and like, you know, but like his situation was way worse because of his background, his parents, or lack thereof, substance abuse, et cetera, et cetera. So like, yeah, like when we talk about parenting, the reason why like I'm such a champion of a lot of your work is because even though you're, still very traditional, which I actually think is dope, because a lot of the criticism I get for like my views and content is that I'm anti any type of like tradition or, classic image of manhood and family, etc. When I'm not that, I'm just anti shit that don't work. And one thing I know don't work is that, especially in 2024, is this domineering, controlling, authoritative image of parenting. Well, this is my perception.
Okay.
And what I perceive is that when you pour into your children in the way that you tend to champion and describe, and you develop them emotionally, they're more equipped for so many other things, especially as Black children who have to deal with the things that we deal with. They're so much better equipped for those things because you've given them more than platitudes. You've given them more than fear. You know what I'm saying?
Bro,
Yeah.
you saying a lot, dog. You saying so much, man, because, I think that, I don't have a history with the system. My dad and my mom had a fling. I'm the result of that. My dad moved to Cali when I was 2 years old, and I had joint custody back and forth, flying back from Cali to Baltimore. Currently, I live
Oh, wow.
in Cali. You know what I'm saying? So I know and I've seen firsthand what life without a father looks like. You know what I'm saying? I also understand being in my father's home with his family, my stepmom, my sister, you know what I'm saying? Like enjoying that life. So even though they were both poor, there was a different level of support and communication on my dad's side with his stepmom than my mom being a single mother. I I'm privileged. to have this view.
Mm.
I'm privileged to see my mom work through so much, right, in her lifetime. She's getting help now. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't got no kids in the house and going to therapy like, oh, shoot, I got some stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I'm proud of them. I'm not, ashamed, but I'm also not like, hey, man, I'm gonna be silent about my pain. I can't do that.
Mm.
What breaks my heart, though, is that I think the tradition. I don't know what you mean by like, oh man, I kind of knock a lot of tradition or like stuff
Well, it's
stuff that
not that
doesn't work.
I don't knock it. I don't knock
Mm-hmm.
tradition. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't believe in dogma. Is a better way of putting it. You know what I'm
Right?
saying?
Yeah.
And
Like
I feel like,
I'm
go ahead.
okay. No. I want you to go.
Well, I feel like the criticism, because I speak, I'm very progressive. Very
Mm-hmm.
leftist, left leaning brother, and
Mm-hmm.
so most people they vibe with it, regardless of if they fully agree. They at least vibe with it. But the people that really like, they get, there's a sense of frustration at the idea, especially as I still am a straight black man who looks the way I look. They're like, why you all over there with them and doing this to the duh? And I'm like, because this worked for us. This worked for me, and this worked for them. And they kind of give me dogma, and I'm like, well, look, that here's the data on that dogma. Here's the history on that dogma. And if that works for you and you can be functional in it, then dope. But you can't force that on no other community, no other people, and no other worldview, especially if the research ain't behind you. You know, and people
Yeah.
translate that as being anti a certain anti traditional family, anti traditional masculinity, anti all the things I actually am, which is I find hilarious because I'm very clearly walking a relatively traditional path, but you know I'm just open to the fact that this path may diverge, and I'm open to the fact that people around me's path that have diverged are still valuable, are still just as valid in how that path works for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And I would say I align with most of what you just said. I feel like I lean left. I look really right. I lean left. I know that, my biggest beef with Christianity is that if we really did our job, then we wouldn't have to vote
Mm,
the way we vote. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like, if we made marriage look as good as we say we care about it, right? If we made family essential, then there wouldn't be so many holes in our theories. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
that's just me, right? But I feel like you presented you talked about a problem that was systematically deep in the legal system.
Mm.
I'm curious on where is the solution, like being someone who worked in that field, what is the solution there that you think, because you're like, all right, I gave the homie Call of Duty, that doesn't solve any of his
It's a
financial problems.
band-aid.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the solution to the problem that's hitting our community? And I wouldn't say as vast as most people would think it is, but I would say as deep
Mm.
as it is. You know what I mean?
It's really just resources. It's
Resources.
resources. It's the
Okay.
absence of control of those resources. And I'm not just talking about like, can we come up with a foundation? Can we all donate a little money? Can we, sue our way, to whatever. Like, no, I'm talking about massive wealth redistribution is what would be needed to fix the problems at the scale that we have them and as deep as they are. Because not only do we need to provide people with resources, they also will then need healing opportunity. You know what I'm saying? They'll need rest. Like you take, you got addicts in your family or in your space that you recognize, like they might get clean, but then they got to get a job. Or, I got a homie right now that just came out from a bid, and like he went from when he described this to me, I almost shed a tear. He went from a factory inside in a jail to a factory as his job, so he wouldn't go back to jail. Like he
Yeah.
had no in less than a month, right? And so it's like so we're talking about having to find ways, through appropriate means, as we hear on YouTube, to get the levers of power to give resources to the systems that serve these people. Because I can tell you, having been in that system, it's hard to explain. Not everybody was really about saving the kids, right? Some people just was there to collect their check, but
Yeah.
most of the people knew what was necessary and they knew what they actually had to offer.
Yeah.
And when you're in that position, that's why there's so much turnover in social services, because you'll get a young kid, 24, 23-year-old out of school. Maybe they got their MPA or something, and not MPA, I don't know, one of them joints.
Okay.
And one of them degrees. And they want to go and they want to help people. And they're faced with a child or a family with dire needs, and they can only offer them as much as the system says they're willing to give. Meanwhile, insert, $90 million police training facility here in Atlanta. Insert, Coca-Cola kickbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
all these things. It's like, all right, look, clearly y'all are, the system, the thing that I had to learn is that when we talk about how these systems work that are supposed to serve us, the ugly reality that most people, especially people that directly engage with it naively, don't know is that the system is not designed to serve people. The system is designed to protect itself. And once you realize that, it's easier to maneuver the system. It's easier to get what you need from it. And it's also obvious that it will never work in the framework it is now, because it's only giving enough resources to itself to protect itself, and never enough to actually help and support the people it's meant to protect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that, I would agree. I think that, my biggest issue right now is kind of like, the most disconnect, like if the most important unit on the whole on this whole planet is family. Like, your family is going to change everything. Depending on who's in your family, how they treat you, it's going to change how you talk to yourself. It's going to change everything. So how do we make family attractive, valuable? And for me, I think of it in a traditional aspect, because it's different when you have two people at the house.
Oh yeah.
Like, we know
Yeah.
it's different when you got two people at the house. One person is bringing, a certain value. Another person is bringing a different value, but it's still equal, right? And they're working together as a team to raise these arrows that go out and hit the mark. Like, and those people then affect the people who aren't doing so well in the community. So
Yeah.
it's like, yo, the homie, he's out here, but that's the cousin, or that's the homie. Bring him over. Let's have him over for dinner. At least he
Right.
sees what's possible.
We might have to
right?
actually take them in. That they
Exactly.
might have to be on our couch for the next 6 months.
We might have to carry this as a family. These are our people. And so
I would say that the family is exactly as you've described it already. And that if you look at the research, Black youth, even Black youth from the most dire situations, they already agree with how you see family as a unit, as a resource, etc. But what they don't have is opportunity. What they don't have are the resources to make that realistic. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
They don't have right now. If you get into, I'm sure you can't escape the gender wars nonsense. You talk with your wife on the podcast, like you know how it works. All this gender wars nonsense comes down to there's a lot of Black men that can't afford to have that traditional family framework as it's been shown to us. There is genuinely not that type of work in existence in America. You know what I'm
Hold
saying?
on.
Yeah.
Hold on. What you mean?
I mean
You
that
saying black men can't afford to have a woman and take care of all her needs?
I'm
Is
saying
that what you
that
mean?
I'm saying that if we imagine the family, black or otherwise, as
Mm-hmm.
a man who leads his household financially and has children who he provides for and is able to, buy a house or even just have stable long-term living situation while working a reasonable amount of hours, etc. Those things are much harder to find in 2024 than in 1970. You know what I'm saying? Or 1984, even 1994. It's probably not until 2004 where we start to see the trajectory we're on now economically. And so, on the flip side, black women, because of the history of slavery and civil rights, whatever, black women have always worked. They've never been the stay-at-home mom, homemaker, Susie homemaker imagery, and so
Yeah.
uh, they have not stopped doing that, and for good reason, because the way the system attack and don't get me wrong, like, and I want to be clear. I see why you pinned me for a second. I'm not saying this is like just because I know some niggas ain't shit stuff, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to be
Yeah.
clear.
Help me.
Thank you for checking me there. The way that again these systems work, they are the reason why black women have always worked is because their black men were not at best they just weren't allowed to get a good job. At worst, they were murdered or put in jail, and that has really not changed. So if you were going to survive as a black woman, you had to learn how to survive, independently.
Or
And
they were taken away,
right,
jail, sold, whatever.
right,
Right.
all those
Mm-hmm.
things that
Right.
that's a lineage, that's a cultural social legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
but it just happens so that now on Instagram, it shows up as, you know,
Yeah.
soft life alpha male podcast, TikTok, you know what I'm saying? And if you get to the root of it, it's just, if you could still get a factory job in Baltimore, if you could still get a railroad job in Atlanta, you could still have a relatively traditional, even not so traditional, but stable family structure that could be a thing that helps uphold entire communities.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe I'm not as traditional as I thought I was because my wife was the breadwinner in the beginning of our relationship.
Mine too.
Right. Right. So we're not even talking about true tradition, right?
Right.
Because we don't really align. We don't even fit in that mode. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really. I don't, man. I think that the gender war stuff, it's entertaining. It reminds me of the Karen thing or like a good revenge story. Like it's juicy enough to distract you from going out and finding your people.
Yeah.
Because regardless if it's a man or a woman you looking for or a friend or a new mom or a pseudo whatever, you gotta go introduce yourself and find your people. But we're giving ourselves anxiety by consuming the same stuff that's affecting us, that's making us kind of all automatically being like, oh, you listen to this person, then I already know you trash. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
bro, you ain't even give a dude a chance. And I love hearing old black men talk. I don't care what they saying. I just love the sound
too.
of it.
Sometimes I be like, ooh.
Yeah.
But they my uncles, and I can't, I still love it. I still give grace.
Man, uncles are be on point. Like the sound of an old black voice, man's voice is so good to me because I don't even know if I'm gonna hear my own. You know what I'm saying? Like love the sound. I love the sound of a black man speaking his mind. I don't care. Now what he talking about? I could be like, bruh, you wildin'. But the fact that he could say it and knowing that he wasn't even allowed to speak and read at one point, like, man, speak your mind. I want to hear what you got to say. I think you tripping. But
I'm gonna have a side conversation. I'm not posting this one, but I want to hear you speak your mind.
Exactly.
Right now,
the sound of it to me is like ASMR.
I got an uncle, all caps. I got an uncle. My uncle was the first person to find my YouTube page. I was like, Uncle, you the last person I want to find my YouTube page right now.
Yes.
All caps in the comment section. I had to be like, look, Uncle, all your comments is coming to the private folder. and
Yeah.
I'll text you.
Ain't
Like,
nobody gonna see this, bro. You invisible on YouTube, bro.
um,
Yeah.
because I know I gotta let you go. Or are you available to keep chopping for us? Like, it's up to you.
I gotta go. We're gonna look at a new school for the kids, so I gotta
That
eat
sounds
dinner and
like
head
so
out.
much fun.
Yeah, I'm not
um,
excited at all.
well, any last things you want to throw out there? Any new stuff that you want to give up a little promo for, or just
Yeah,
a message to the
yeah.
people?
When is this coming out? You know?
God willing, this will come out soon because I need to drop another one at the end of the month. So this might be like no later than next Friday.
Okay, cool. So, man, really pumped. I appreciate you for giving me this platform. One thing I want to say to you specifically is I don't want to hear you talking about you ain't got no peoples. Cause I've been waiting. Like you hit me up once, we talked that one time, and we ain't talked since. You know what I'm saying? But I'm here for you. I don't want you to feel like you're alone. Like it's not fair for you. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to let you know that you have somebody here that, we could talk about whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I
But
appreciate that, man.
I understand the creative mind because a lot of time they're your homies, but they don't understand the creative pressures. And
Yeah,
I get it. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So content creator friend, hi, I'm here, right? That's one. Two is we're working on the Black Sesame Street. It's Frank Puppet is
Oh
a
yeah, I did see that.
yeah.
I'm in that. Yeah, Instagram. Yes, continue.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
we're working hard on it, man. It's been something that we've been trying to pull together and create. It's been really that's like my dream is like to get this thing out there. But Frank Puppet is an ice cream man, and he has his own journeys and adventures and stuff like that. And so we've been creating this story world for him, and that's been pretty dope. And then sign up for if you guys are interested in tapping in with us, check out Belief in Good, which is our nonprofit. The nonprofit tells you what we're doing in the community. It lets you know, everything that we have going on and all the efforts that we have. So we put out a lot of like content that isn't available anywhere else on that like membership site. So Belief in Good, it's just good people doing good work. We're really in the schools and stuff like that, which I'm really excited about. And so I take the puppet in the schools. We teach the kids how to use the cameras and all that stuff. So it's been pretty dope to cross over into that next place.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, I know. That's something I think about. That's one of the reasons why I started the podcast. Is like I don't know how many 90-minute long mini documentaries about prison or anime I have in me. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta,
Yeah.
I have to make sure there's new things beyond that. Once that ideal well starts to shrivel up a little bit, so it's dope to see you working on that. Yeah, it's been dope talking to you, bro. Like it's as a I don't want to put too much pressure on you with the accolades, but as an icon of Black fatherhood, as the next great Black media dad since Cosby.
Hey man, you gotta be careful with the C word, man.
It's been dope having the conversation. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that you have had an effect on a generation of men raising children. And I appreciate you, sharing your presence with the platform. So this has been Signified Podcast, Belief in Fatherhood. Appreciate you coming through. And that's
Thank
pretty
you,
much
bro.
it. Peace.
Peace.